And welcome back to We Bombastic Few. We're back after a 2-week hiatus, which we'll get into in a second, after we introduce our other two hosts. Would you guys like to say hello?
Hello.
I went first.
are-
We
are the better two-thirds of We
two
Bombastic
hosts
Few.
of the show.
Okay, that was Daniel and Lindsay, your other two hosts. And today,
Nailed it.
if you remember from last week, it's the Qualgorithm, which means we're just going to go straight into it. But really quick, bombastic word for the week. We've been doing really good about it, by the way. We should give ourselves a pat on the back. This week, it's Spannungsbogen, which means...
Spannungsbogen.
Oh, don't give me that. You don't know how to say it perfectly either. And it means the rising of tension or a tension arc. So, Qualgorithm. So the reason there was a 2-week break is my sister got married last weekend.
Shout out to
Yay.
sister.
And then
Yep.
the week before that, I had a very good reason, and we had to cancel.
Yes.
Aha.
Brent and I were waiting eagerly at the computer, waiting to record as Daniel had a legit excuse to not show up.
Yeah, I definitely didn't just completely forget that we had planned to record. That didn't happen. For the record.
Anyway, wedding went pretty well. No mistakes. I was a groomsman, and I personally did not cause any mistakes, which I was very proud of. And so I will say that, like, Brianna, she's awesome, but she was a little stressed for the wedding, and so there were points where she was like very just out of it, and I was like just giving commands and stuff, and so she was going first, and I was riding behind her, and we were a little late than when she wanted to be there, and so like that was on top of stress, and there was not enough room in her car for her wedding dress, and so her wedding dress was in my car riding with me, and she was like, Brent, under no circumstance are you not to arrive with this wedding dress. And I was like, yes, I will. And so as I was driving, I was thinking to myself, I was like, what if I get pulled over? And I was like, at the same time, this is possibly the greatest excuse I will ever have to get out of a ticket. It's like, I get pulled over, right? Listen, officer, in my back seat is a wedding dress. And I'm late for the wedding. I think that's literally the best excuse you could ever have to get out of a ticket.
So you're telling me I should invest in a
I should just
dress.
have a wedding dress in my back seat.
Exactly.
And
That's
dress
exactly
nice
what
everywhere.
I'm proposing. You go to Amazon, right? You buy like a $30 or $40 wedding dress. That's like, it's like a costume one, but like it looks real enough that's like, oh yeah, that could be a wedding dress. And you always have that in your back seat. And if you ever get pulled over, you're like, you like get in a panic and you're like, officer, I'm late for the wedding and I have the dress. And then I think you just get let go immediately.
So you're telling me this will get me away with going 100 and a 70, right?
Easily.
So-
I'm not even kidding. I genuinely think you could get away with like double the speed limit.
I highly
So,
doubt that, but sure.
I get pulled over, and I tell the officer, hey, I'm on my way to a wedding. I have the wedding dress. I'm late. I got to get there. And he's like, I saw you pull out of the Waffle House parking lot. It's 2 a.m.
Well, no,
you're
my
wearing
thing-
athletic
my thing-
shorts and have a syrup stain on your shirt.
My other concern though is it's like if it's not on like a Sunday or something, it's like it's 3 p.m. on a Tuesday. Like what wedding's happening now? It's like we couldn't. This was the cheapest day to get the church,
Okay.
and then
Yeah.
but yeah. So in conclusion, I think it is also congratulations to Brianna and David. But in conclusion, I think that the wedding dress is the ultimate get out of a ticket free card.
Yeah. Shout outs to Brent's sister.
Yeah.
So wait. So when you got pulled over, and
No,
there's
I
like
did
that
not
waiting
get pulled
period.
over.
You did not get pulled over.
No, I did-
That was a mini hypothetical situation.
Oh, okay. I thought
Yeah,
you were saying
that-
you actually got pulled over and
No,
used that
no, no,
excuse
no.
and it worked.
That would be a much better story, but no. Unfortunately, I drove the speed limit because I was afraid. I was afraid of getting pulled over, and I was afraid my sister would take action against me for arriving late. But I got there on time. The wedding dress was in one piece. No problemo.
There you go. That's a dream.
Exactly.
Yeah,
What do you
that
got?
could really have caused some Spannungsbogen if you had messed anything up there.
Well, yeah. I will say though, my now brother-in-law, her husband showed up half an hour later than he was supposed to.
Classic.
So apparently he's not one for punctuality, but it's okay. He's a nice guy.
So I was at Anthony's wedding over the summer. Longtime
Yes.
listeners will remember Anthony from the episode. I believe it was titled "Imagine Not Having Audio Issues," in which
Yep.
there were a
Episode
lot of
7,
audio
I
issues.
think season 1.
Classic episode.
Which
Thanks,
fun
Internet.
trivia fact about that title. Daniel texted it to me as or he sent the file with that as a joke, and I did not know it was a joke, and so we just kept that title, which is why it's like the least creative title we have.
I don't know. It's a pretty good title. Someone brought it up to you. Like, I remember you were telling this story when we were setting up for the next episode, and you were like, "Yeah, my friend went up to me, and he was gonna tell me about the episode." He goes, "Yeah, I was gonna complain about the audio issues, but I saw the title. I was like, oh, okay, they know."
Yeah,
So
That
it
is-
worked out.
What was
but I haven't gotten any complaints this season since we've changed how we record. So
Yeah.
nice? What was the
Audacity's
story about
working
Anthony's
out.
wedding that you were about to say?
Yes. So, it was the weekend. I was one of the groomsmen, and at his bachelor party, one of the things we did is we played Ultimate Frisbee because a lot of the people in his friend group and extended friend group play Ultimate, and so it was like the groomsmen and then like a lot of our other friends, and we were just playing Ultimate. And this is Friday. The wedding's gonna be Sunday, and at one point I have the Frisbee, and the best man is guarding me. And I try and like fake him out and kind of like throw it diagonal, but I follow through too much and I smack him on the eye so hard. And like his face is so red. It looks like he's gonna have a black eye. And I'm like, oh geez, I can't believe I just did this to the best man. And like we freaked out. I thought he was like mad, but like things settled down. But it was like a weird vibe after that.
Who was it?
Everything was fine. So Saturday, because normally when like their group plays Ultimate like in a big group, they do it on like Tuesdays or Saturdays. And so people wanted to play Ultimate, and me and Andy were talking. We were like, I want to play Ultimate, and he wanted to play Ultimate, and his wife wanted to play Ultimate. So we all went to play Ultimate, and the best man is guarding me again. And I try the same maneuver, and I mess it up again and hit him on the eye.
Oh gosh.
is it the
At
same?
which point I was
eye?
just like, I gotta stop playing this. Also, every time I play Ultimate with this guy and he's guarding me, like something goes wrong. Like I'll be running to catch a Frisbee, and like I'm not looking where I'm going because I'm looking at the Frisbee, and I'll just like run him over, or, like, or someone will trip over the other. Like someone gets hurt every time we play together, but it's fine. But anyways, he didn't have a black eye and everything went great. Shout outs to Anthony. Shout outs to Jake, the best man.
Was it the same eye that you hit?
It was the same eye both times.
He had perfect 20/20 vision, and it's just going like getting worse and worse in one eye.
It's deteriorating quickly. But also we were like, I don't know. I guess we got lucky because something always happens, and then like nothing happened to Anthony or Trinity. So that was the important thing, is that they were uninjured and such.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was a fun weekend. I don't know if that counts as my Qualgorithm. We can do that, or I can tell a short one.
I'll let the decision be up to you.
Go ahead.
Okay. The first one I will do is, so I think it was earlier this week. So, my girlfriend lives about a little more between an hour and 2 hours away, and sometimes I go to work with packed bags to head that way after work. And so like typically the things that I'll bring is like obviously some clothes, and then I'll throw my laptop in my backpack. And typically, like I'll put everything behind my the driver's seat, all my bags in the driver's seat, and then sometimes I get to work. I like to get there a little early, just like wake up, and if I need to, I can take a short nap. But since I've already been up, it's easier to wake up the second time. Just give me a chance to like get fully ready for the day. And I recline, and it's like I literally think about it. I'm like, gosh, I put that bag back there, but I've done this before and it didn't hurt at all. I'm not worried about it. All right, so I do it, and then all of a sudden I hear this noise, and it's like it I don't know how to describe it, but it almost sounded like maybe just like two little pieces of metal were like laying on each other like weird, and then like just slid off of each other. Just like that kind of weird noise of just like a little bit of metal interacting with each other. But then I'm like, wait a minute, that couldn't have been my laptop, could it? And so I was like,
No.
So that slight noise was my laptop breaking in the middle, like suppressed by my backpack. And so I'm like, I gotta check this. So I like it's 5 o'clock in the morning. It's still dark outside. I'm just sitting in my car, and I like sit up I get my seat up, and I bring my laptop to the front, and I pull it out, and the screen is just shattered, and so depressing. I'm like, the keyboard lights up, so I'm like, okay, it's probably fine. Don't think about it, and then like I forget what made me decide to look at it again, but for some reason I pull it back out and realize the entire thing is just bent. Like the entire thing is no longer flat, and it is a $1,300 laptop.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, that's so brutal.
Oh man.
So that was an interesting story of recent times.
That story is like exactly why I will never get a gaming laptop for myself, as like convenient as it would be.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I don't like upgrade often, and so like I don't need something I can like replace parts in like often.
Mhm.
But I feel like taking care of a laptop is much harder than taking care of a desktop.
Yeah. And
Oh
I
yeah.
don't know. Like I typically consider myself someone who's like really cautious with my stuff, with my belongings, and it's just like that happened, and like I currently have a crack on my phone screen, and like it's not really my fault, but there was a crack on my windshield, so it's like every piece of glass that I own was cracked, so it's made me second guess, like do I actually take care of my stuff? Can I actually own nice items? I need to like I'm gonna downgrade everything so I don't like just throw away $1,300 again.
So is it not repairable whatsoever?
So I think I can just get the screen replaced because I plugged it into an HDMI and it seemed like it was working fine, just aside from the screen. So I might look into that, but it's also just sad to see like just not flat.
I think I might be stealing a little bit, but so recently I bought a graphics card that was like $1,300, but like the graphics cards are selling for really high right now, and so it's worth almost $2,000, and I was transporting it from where I live to college. And I had it in the trunk of my car, and I was in a Penn Station, and I could not eat my meal in peace whatsoever, because the entire time I was just thinking, like, that item is in my car is worth more than my car. What if someone gets it? They'd be like, oh, I'm stealing this car that's worth like $1,000, and then they'd open the trunk and be like, holy cow, look at this thing that's worth way more than this car. Should have left the car.
Which
I hate.
It's funny because like I like, as Brent knows, I bought the same graphics card with them, and as being a high demand product, my plan was to, pretty much still is, to resell it, and it's selling for nearly 2 times as much as the MSRP, and it's just like all profit that I might make from that is going to go straight to a laptop repair or replacement.
That's you gotta do crypto, dude, because that's the only way you're gonna make money now.
And that was what kind of graphics card was that?
3080 Ti.
3080 Ti.
30. Whew. Yeah,
We
that's
were-
a beefy one.
We were pretty far down like the line. Like I'd say probably like between like 30 and 40 people behind the beginning of the
Let's
line.
throw in
Wait,
a quick story.
Wait, how
for-
did you find a graphics card at like 35% off? You said it was worth 2,000.
No,
You
no,
got
no,
it for
no, no.
1,300.
Well, Lindsay, tell the story.
So I just happened to get like this article pushed to me, and it says there's rumors that it's like on a Monday or Tuesday. It's like rumors that Best Buy is going to restock on 30 series graphics cards, which is a very high demand product right now, at the on Friday. And so I texted Brett because he was in town that week, and I was like, "Would you want to wait in line with me if this is a thing, or go check it out?" We didn't really have much plan. We didn't think that it was like a rumor at that point, and more articles got pushed to me, so I got more confident in it. I go to swing by Best Buy when Friday rolled around, like as soon as I get off work. So I get there just before 3, and there's one person in line, and I just was like, okay, it's obviously a thing. He's just probably wanting to make sure he gets one. Probably not many people are going to wait out there. And then I just go in, decide to look at some stuff, and by the time I walk out, there's like 3 or 4 more people. So the line's at like 5 people when it's like they're gonna open the doors to sell them at 8 o'clock in the morning. So we had plans to go see Venom 2. So I text Brent. I was like, hey, I know I'm picking you up in a little bit. This is a situation. After the movie, we're gonna go check it out, and we do that. We go see the movie. It's a late, not extremely late, but it's a later showing. We get to check out Best Buy's line. What would you say? Probably
It's
like
like
9 o'clock
10
or so, or 10.
10 o'clock.
Yeah, and
I'd
we're
say.
like, that's a lot of people. And like the front side of it was the line.
So for scale, like the Best Buy it's a big Best Buy. It's like warehouse
yeah, so
size Best Buy.
the line like
Is
went
it
from
is it the one by the mall?
yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So like the line starts at the front doors, obviously, and then it made all the way to the corner, wrapped around the corner, all the way to the full length of that side of the wall, and like they're pretty much about to like chairs are about to be no longer on the sidewalk that's placed there, and we're like, that's a lot of people.
Like people almost wrapped around like where the trucks come to drop off stuff.
So we're like, I don't know. I have work the next day. It's like it's a risk of getting it. We don't know. And we're just like, okay, whatever. We're not going to do it. It's already late. We're both tired. And then I drop off Brent at his house, and his house is in between my house and the Best Buy. So I just drop him off. I get home, and the second I get home, I get a picture from Brent saying that he got his tax return. He's like, I think it's a sign that we should go back. And he ended up calling, and we're like going back and forth of if we should go. And finally we're like, you know what? Like, this is a healthy example of when you could say YOLO, pretty much. Like, it's not a bad, like, not unhealthy way just to be like, we're young, we've got time, we've got like money to spare. Like, let's do this for the potential like small scale investment. And we go and we get there probably like at 11:30, 11:45. You say, Brent? And
Honestly, I think we got there like 11:10 or something.
yeah, so it was like not much later, but we gave us enough time to like pack a bag of things that we might want overnight, and then
And
get
the
a
most
chair.
uncomfortable lawn chairs we could find.
And we both got to charge our phone a little bit because we've been using them all day, obviously. And we both slept for the majority of the time. And we thought it was going to open at 10. We didn't find out it was going to open at 8 until like halfway through the night. So it wasn't that bad of time. But we since we were like 30 or 40, we didn't get first pick. So more of the higher resale value ones we didn't get. But to answer your question, Daniel, the MSRP is what Best Buy sells them at, which is just like their expected value. But since it's a high demand product, you can resell them because people around the world still want them. It's just they're not being manufactured quick enough. So we got them after tax probably around like $1,300, and then resale is estimated to be nearing 2 times that.
I had a similar situation, but not anywhere near the scale of that. Senior year of high school, and the Nintendo Switch was dropping.
Bro, I was there with you.
Yeah, you were there with. That's right. We went there, and so I wanted to go to the midnight release, and I went to the local Walmart, and I went there right after school, right? And so it's 3:30 or something, and I'm waiting, and I'm like, I'm the only one in line so far. And I'm like, I'm getting kind of hungry. And I had some people who were going to meet up with me, Lindsay, and then I think...
I was at work. I had to go to work.
Yeah, you were going to meet up later. And then I think Jake was going to meet up and some other... Anyways. So I call up one of the friends who's going to join me in line. And he's like, wait, you're already there? What are you doing? Like... You're gonna get one. There's not even gonna be a line. Just like come, we'll hang out a couple hours and we'll come back. And I was like, I don't know. Like there's like gonna be a lot of demand for this. I want to be early in line. And, it'd be cool to have like one of the first ones.
I mean, it's the new Nintendo system. It's something to get excited about.
Yeah, and we were all very excited. But they convinced me. And so we pick up something pretty fast. We just kind of hang out at someone's house for a little while. And then we decide. Maybe around like 6 or 7 or something that we'll get there, and we go, and then we end up being like 20 or 30 people back in line, and I was a little bitter, but I got over it, and I got a day 1 Switch at Breath of the Wild.
I don't think
so.
You ended up going that late because I remember getting a text from you like, hey, like there's people starting lining up or whatever, and I ended up leaving work. I was able to get off work at 4 because of like the emergency
I wonder if
relief.
I can find that text. Hold on a minute.
We're not waiting for
somehow
that.
I got a text and I was like, fine, I'll get off work and I'll go wait in line. And like we had school the next day, and we're both like, I think we told each other, we're like, no, we're not gonna play. We're just gonna load it up and or like boot it up and then go to bed and do it tomorrow. We both get to school the next day and we're like, yeah, we stayed up a little later and played some Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, I went over. I remember Jake was with us because I went to Jake's house and we both booted up, and like I got through the intro, I saw that opening cutscene, I was like,
I'm not putting this down.
It was just so beautiful. I had to make, I forget when, it might have been at the like when it like pans off and shows you looking over the cliff at the horizon.
Yeah, that's like 2 minutes.
So you get
into
through
it.
like the very early intro. I can't remember if I played a little after that or if I forced myself to stop there. Because at that point it was getting pretty late. Because
I played more than that. Don't worry about it.
But yeah, I do remember one of the friends who was with us. He was like, he had some theater band thing going on, and the teacher was like, knew he was like excited about it, like, don't, either his parents didn't want him to do it or the teacher didn't want him to like do it because they had like a big performance or something, and then he got caught playing the Switch on the bus on the way to the trip.
That's great.
So shout outs to Adam.
Yes.
I don't know if has anyone recommended the podcast to him?
Maybe I talk to him now and again. Maybe I'll send it over to him.
Tell him he gets a shout out.
Yeah, I'll tell him.
Speaking
I'll tell him, like,
shout outs,
hey, got you a shout out on the most recent podcast episode. He's like, you have a podcast? He's like, what? I didn't tell you. I actually didn't tell like almost anyone. I'm kind of slacking on the advertisement.
As long as you
grind.
beat Lindsay with one person.
Hey, all of my guests are people I told about it. So how many guests have I had?
Wow,
Let's see.
pretty possessive.
Chad, Alex, Anthony, bam, 3 at least. I also told other people for sure because I was like, oh yeah, I'm doing this. I don't know how many of them actually listened though.
I think all you need to get your numbers up.
Yeah.
I talked to probably at least 3 or 4 people about it at the wedding.
I've talked to people about it. I just don't like be like, you have to listen.
Recommend.
Recommendation.
Yeah, it comes up sometime.
Well, no, I take the phone from the person, I type it in, I start playing the first episode, I set a routine in their phone to any time it's unlocked, it automatically starts playing the newest episode.
Yeah, I should start
Then I
doing
give the
that.
phone back to them. That'd be amazing. I should start doing that.
I'm sure everyone will appreciate that.
Exactly. It's a way to make friends. How to make friends and influence people. The
But
number
you said-
one thing in that book is autoplay your own podcasts on people's phone.
Yeah, the art of the deal.
Yep.
You said, speaking of shout-outs, and then I think I cut you off.
Well, yeah, you did. I was going to say, Lindsay, shout out some mushrooms. Or trees.
Mushrooms.
Lindsay.
Bombastic quote time.
Okay, I picked up on that. You just gotta give me a second to be able to get it out. You gave me no.
How is
Speed. We're going.
how is shout
We're
out a
off.
good transition for that?
It wasn't. That's the thing. I've never had.
Mushrooms have more free will than trees.
So the easiest job in the world, right? I have decided it is being a bodyguard for someone in MMA. I was watching this video, I watched a couple different videos about like different MMA things, just randomly, and in every single one they've got bodyguards all around them, and it's like, what where do I apply to be a bodyguard for someone in the MMA? Because who in the world is gonna come to one of the top fighters in the world and be like, hey, I'm gonna try and do whatever, like steal your tacos? Like, how often do they need? I get it's mainly for just like keeping crowds away, but still, it seems crazy. Like, I want to be a bodyguard for an MMA person. So where do I apply? I assume you guys know.
Well, you probably have to be a bigger guy, a more stronger guy.
You can't. There's a perspective difference in the podcast picture, but I'm actually 9 feet tall.
Oh, so that perspective carries on into where I see you in real life.
We've never met in real life.
Oh, so all the stories that we've shared, like even in this podcast, the best one
It
that
was,
was alive.
it was robots.
We've
interact
actually been in
with, like-
quarantine our entire lives.
You
and
ever seen the
did
movie
school
Sur-
over Zoom?
No. You ever see the movie Surrogates with Die Hard dude,
Bruce Willis.
Bruce Willis?
I've definitely seen ads for it. I feel like I
Ads
watched it, but I
for
don't
it.
remember.
Came out like a decently long time ago.
Really?
Anyway, they
I must be thinking of something else then.
they have like robots that look exactly, or they don't have to look exactly like you. You can make them look like whatever you want, but they use robots to go out into the world, and they can feel the same thing. Honestly, it'd be a good hypothetical.
No,
and
Brent,
I
it
have
came out in
written down.
2009.
Yeah, decades ago.
Oh my, decade.
Yeah, well, whatever. It's super old.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, so I'd like to apply to be a bodyguard, and I think I have the qualifications. I recently bought a boxing speed bag, and I don't like to brag or anything, but I can hit it.
Wow.
With my fist.
You could hit the speed bag with your hands. That's very impressive.
Yeah,
Indeed.
and Brent thinks that makes him good at boxing.
I'm pretty sure I could beat Rocky. Like, Sylvester Stallone at his peak has nothing on me currently.
I should get. I've always thought about getting like stuff like that. I feel like that'd be fun to just like.
It's not
Train on.
ridiculously expensive. The biggest issue is like I can't drill into my apartment, and so I basically had a room of engineers friends, and I was like, hey, how can we design something that doesn't drill into the wall, that ideally can be lowered, that can fit in a door frame? And so basically we got like aluminum plate that we drilled the bag into, and then using ratchet straps and bungee cords and like a pull-up bar, we attached it to a door frame.
See,
And it mostly works.
we've talked about this problem we had before, because I'm like on the opposite of the spectrum. Because like we've talked about this where it's like you're like the idea guy, but you had this problem at school where like not many people you knew would just spontaneously do stuff, and I had this problem where I was always down to spontaneously do stuff, but I didn't have any idea guys. So this translates.
It's a fine balance.
It's like it's very symbiotic how we interact with each other.
Exactly.
How did this relate? Oh, so you had like the item, the idea. I just have like the means. So like I bought a soldering iron and like a hot glue gun and some other stuff the other day at the hardware store. And I went to my roommates who are also engineers. I was like, guys, we gotta do something with this. And it was just a dead end. No one had anything.
Get a circuit.
Yeah,
To
I'm
do
gonna
something.
mess around with it because I bought some like replacement parts and different kind of like capacitors that I'm gonna put in my GameCube controllers to
do what?
Well, the buttons are mainly like aesthetic, but so there's a thing called snapback where like you flick your joystick one direction and when you release it, it like reads the other direction for like a split second just because it springs back too far. And the thing I want to solder on in my controller with snapback like prevents that. Affects the POD or something like that.
Is it a mechanical or an electrical thing?
It's a. I mean, it's something I'm soldering onto a circuit board, but like it uses capacitors.
It's an electric thing.
Yeah.
I was wondering if it was like a mechanical stop or something.
No, it
because it honestly feels like a mechanical stop would be easier to design.
It's mainly because of like the way the signal is read. Just based on how like the stick box has like worn or whatnot.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I got those. And I got some cool buttons that I'm just gonna replace, make it look nice. I also meant to buy stuff to like clean the shells because like obviously some of my controller shells are like really old and they've got little grime in it that's hard to just like get off. So I was gonna try and do like a nice clean of all my shells, but I forgot to buy the cleaning stuff. So there's that. Speaking of GameCube controllers, I am going to a Super Smash Brothers Melee tournament on Saturday.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so that'll be pretty tight. Be playing, chilling, vibing.
What are the odds against you?
What are the odds against me?
Yeah, if I want to bet, like if I bet on you, what can I expect to gain?
If there was a betting line, you would make a lot of money if I won the whole thing.
How many people are in it?
I'm not sure. I'll have to check the Smash GG page.
Are you gonna be able to find a way to stream it?
I'll look into if they're streaming. I wouldn't be able to stream it on my channel, but I don't know if they have like a stream. Yeah. They could stream it. It's like an esports venue.
Yeah,
that like has just a bunch of setups.
Send me the link if you end up if someone streams that. That'd be cool to watch.
But yeah, so
would we get like a? You could. I guess you don't know it now, so we couldn't.
There are 36 attendees. Honestly, I thought there'd be more because like I think there's definitely people from like Missouri coming down, and then like Colorado, something like that. I don't know. But it might just be like a few people here and there.
Mm-hmm.
I know the like last iteration of this tournament had like several different people from several different states, but it might not have been like a huge tournament either way.
Well, so how are you practicing?
How do I practice? I just practice like my movement a lot in solo, and then I've just been trying to get games with a lot of different people, different characters, different play styles.
Gotcha.
Melee's intricate. There's a lot to it.
Yeah.
I don't buy it.
Call up Cole.
Dude, Cole pop off on you. No. Sick game. And I've been to like a couple in-person tournaments, and they were a lot of fun. I don't like do great, but it's a good vibe. People are nice. It's like one of the only like social things I do is go to tournaments.
Yeah, I mean, that's fun. Make friends.
Yeah.
with all the other little boys and girls?
Well,
I can tell you that what though, like watching, I don't know if I can watch that because there'd be quite the Spannungsbogen while watching it.
really, tell me about that. Tell me about the Spannungsbogen that would come up while you were watching a tournament.
Well, you know how it is. Whenever you're watching a tournament, there's just such a Spannungsbogen.
That doesn't count as a use, by the way.
The first one definitely counted.
Sure. Oh yeah. No, there was the first like big IRL tourney or like for Melee after quarantine. Like it was like it's Smash Summit, and so like a lot of the best players in the world come and play, and then there's like a few invited players through different means or whatever. But like the grand finals of that tournament was insane, super tense. Like it was hard to handle just watching it. Like if you kind of knew the context, because there's like a lot of storylines going on.
Is this an anime?
Melee is an anime.
Huh. I would love. I was about to say that'd be interesting. I guarantee you, there's an anime about a fighting game similar to it.
Dude, I saw something about it sometime in like the last year, because like I follow a lot of like people in like the Smash community, and they were talking about this anime as like they literally made an anime that's like it's not like about Smash, but it's basically about Smash. Like you see like the layout's the same, and you could like make comparisons of like the characters people are playing. Like, oh yeah, this is obviously supposed to be like this character.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty funny. I meant to check it out and I forgot. But yep.
Interesting.
So that was my
Okay.
Qualgorithm.
So what I'll do is, and so I had a discussion at work today about shout out Joel. He was talking about how he thinks ambiguous endings to movies, shows, or books or whatever are pointless and completely obscure and unnecessary. And his reasoning is that he thinks that I forget exactly how he worded it, but he was saying that he thinks that an ambiguous ending takes away from the idea of the movie. And I won't spoil it, but Inception is a really good example of.
Yeah, that was the very first one I thought of.
And he said that he doesn't like it because it takes away from the idea of the movie being a kind of playing with the idea of reality versus dreams and traversing dreams and manipulating dreams. So I would like to hear your guys' take on it, but my response was, again, using Inception. I ended up taking it back. My initial point was that I think it's cool. I like ambiguous endings when it continues the topic of the movie, and I thought that Inception kind of already did that. Like there's already points in it that kind of already made you want to talk about it beyond the movie. However, the ambiguous ending of Inception was really good still. That's for me the benefit. So I don't know if you guys have other benefits or of an ambiguous ending, or if you don't like them, or what your take is on them. And then I'll give you like the wrap of my discussion with him.
I don't know. To me, it just kind of sounds like he's not satisfied by those endings and needed to justify to himself that it wasn't just subjective.
Yeah.
But that's my take. And beyond that, I think like usually movies that have ambiguous endings, either it works well with what they were doing in the movie, like most of the time it works well with what they were doing in the movie, or it's supposed to be artistic and up to interpretation because as a result of they wanted it to be more artistic. That's kind of the thing with like art pieces, is there's supposed to be like multiple ways to take it.
Yeah.
And I would say you touched on it a little bit, but I think that is a movie's greatest power in terms of getting people to talk about it. Like having an ambiguous ending is a guarantee to have, because it's the most recent thing you saw, and it's a good conversation starter for a movie. And if you like it's a good talking point. So I think it's just a brilliant gimmick by movies in order, like I use the word gimmick. I think it can be used very well.
A tool,
but
maybe.
it's just so useful for getting hype or just building conversations around your movie. Another one I thought of was it's a movie called The Circle, which if you haven't seen, I would recommend. It's on Netflix, I'm pretty sure. That one, like, ambiguous ending, but then also I think sometimes for The Circle, the endings it's not super ambiguous, but there are a couple things left unsaid. But I think part of it is like it kind of takes away from the magic of the movie if you explain everything. Like some things that some details just weren't important to the story, and they can bog down and take away from what you were supposed to focus on.
Yeah, and like with that, like I think if I explain it, it will spoil it. But like with Inception and the Ring Theory, if either of you guys have heard of that, I think that like the fact that people can take the ambiguous ending and like dissect the movie and just kind of like use pieces of the movie to and hints of the movie to find out what the ending probably actually was. I think that's cool.
Yeah,
but
I was gonna talk about that.
Yeah, my wrap up with the discussion with him was like he was really set on an ambiguous ending takes away from the idea of a movie, and like I said, for Inception was traversing dreams, and
that's a broad topic. The idea of a movie.
Yeah,
like,
and
I'm really confused as to what he's saying.
That's
there.
what I was telling
Other
him.
than Inception, I'm not sure you could say, like, there are some movies you could definitely say there's a central idea, but there are 100 movies I can think of immediately that like don't have a central idea.
That's kind of what I was getting at when I told him. I was like, yes, the main idea is what you were saying, reality versus dreams or whatever, but to kind of what's the word, experiment with that, that's the reason why you create a plot, and an ambiguous ending ties you back to the plot. So it kind of needs all three pieces with a good ambiguous ending. But I think he just wants like the bigger picture of the ending to be more about what is the big picture of it, which I can respect. I can respect the people who appreciate the bigger picture of it and like tie it to things outside of. I guess just more about cinematography instead of like looking at the plot of the movie. But I wonder, do you guys think like from what I've told you, do you think it's almost naive of him to like almost just skip past
so in
the plot?
conclusion, Joel, I retract everything you ever say. Shout out retracted.
No. He's
a terrible person.
At worst, like naive, but I don't even think that. I just think like it's pretty subjective. It depends like what you want out of a movie. If you don't want like, cause those movies are just like open ended and you can kind of theory craft it. Like you said, like just look like it'll. If you're really interested in it, you're gonna rewatch it and try and pick up on all the little like hints they drop throughout and try and figure out what direction it was going. Which, if you're into that, that's really fun. But if you just kind of want to cut and dry and like know what happened, like you might be able to have those discussions to see if there is an objective ending. But I could see it being unsatisfying if there's not.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Teach their own.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. But looping back, just a quick comment. I do love that ring theory that Sonic and Inception take place in the same universe.
Yes.
I have not heard that one. I'll have to
look into it.
I thought you said you heard of the ring theory.
And it ties.
I was just kind of. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it ties to the parody of the Circle movie.
it's the off-brand budget B movie that they, which, even though Circle movie's basically already a B movie. At least
a C movie.
Yeah.
Oh
Well, no, the ring's the horror movie.
Yeah,
with,
it is
like,
a movie.
the
Yeah.
But, but we already talked about the circle.
which is also in the theory,
Oh,
which
boy.
Sonic is in the same thing as. Yeah,
Neato.
it's crazy how all movies are in the same universe.
Yeah, I know. That's what the ring theory is all about.
Speaking of Sonic, who is blue, and you know what else is blue is the ocean. And what do you do when you're at the ocean? You swim. Now, has anyone else ever wondered why it's more socially acceptable to wear swimwear, like out at the beach, but it's not as socially acceptable to wear it anywhere else? Well, thanks to our sponsor today, you can. Business swimsuits are in. You can wear your business Speedos to your meetings. You can wear your business bikinis anywhere you want. Business meetings, fancy restaurants, other public places. And no shame because you look professional in them and everyone respects you for it.
And with business swimsuits, when a little bit of sunshine comes into your windows, you can still work on that tan line that you're needing while getting paid because you're on the clock.
Personally, I hate it when I go to just an average like Walmart or wherever to buy a swimsuit and it doesn't come with a tie. But luckily, every single business swimsuit you purchase comes with a tie, which I think is it's great. It's not a separate cost thing that you have to purchase. It just comes right in, same package. It's really great.
And with the premium swimsuit, the tie doubles as an emergency boat.
Oh yeah,
Interesting.
they've got a self-inflating device in them. You just pull the tab and it self-inflates. One would think it would self-inflate into like a life jacket that's already around your body, but nope, a full-size boat.
I recently had an interview and business swimsuits got me the job.
Easily, yeah. Let's just say that they're impressive. They send a message. You're confident. You're powerful. You're ready to play, and do business.
And do business. Business swimsuits. Check them out now with our product code. Brett, you got the product code?
Swim Bombastic Few will get you 10% off and an extra tie.
And you
specifically a bow tie.
Oh, and he didn't mention you use at the website www.businessandpartyallaround.com.
Yeah, the domain mullet.com was taken. So, yeah. Thank you to Business Swimsuits for sponsoring this episode. So, speaking of businesses, I have my own business idea I'm going to pitch to you guys right now, right?
Hit it.
What's the biggest market right now? What's the market that you can make the most money in right now? Easy answer, right? Insurance. Insurance gets you is a $1 billion industry, right? I've got an idea for my own insurance I'm going to sell. So it'll be a form of car insurance that you tack on, right? Quicksand Insurance. So I'm going to offer quicksand insurance for vehicles. And so if you happen to drive in your car into quicksand and you lose your car to quicksand, if you had quicksand insurance, it would be taken care of. And so first thought, obviously, I was like, I don't know. I don't live around quicksand. Well, but here's the thing. Quicksand insurance is only $2 lifetime insurance, right? And so you pay $2 one time. You've got quicksand insurance. Boom, taken care of. And so personally, like, I don't plan to run into quicksand. I don't even know where I would find quicksand. But if my insurance agent told me I could add on quicksand insurance for $2, I'd be like, honestly, yeah. What if I do run into quicksand? So, boom. What do you think?
I like it. I like where you're going. I have a tangent about insurance, but I'll wait.
Use your own Qualgorithm time for that.
So where are there certain parts of the world where quicksand is more common? Like, where does it pop up? Is it anywhere with like desert sand? Is it like a jungle thing? I don't even know.
That's no one knows. Like, for all we know, quicksand doesn't even exist, but everyone thinks it does.
You're kind of right.
That's where I'm really gonna cash in.
So you pick this price point, like $2. I'm assuming that's arbitrary, but there's probably actually
No, I did market research.
Well, when you
I
said
did some
that,
studies.
like the way you said it, it almost sounded like it already exists. and it was a $2 lifetime. I was like, oh, I'm picking up Quicksand Insurance. But then you kept going. I was like, oh no, he's talking like hypothetical here.
Well, no. So before we release this episode, we need to start our company that sells Quicksand Insurance.
We'll base it. We'll put our business operations center like in international waters, and that way we don't have to worry about as many laws.
Yeah.
We don't have to worry about the legality of running
And
insurance.
also, so
Do you think there's
all
a lot for
all future buyers and investors stop listening right now. But here's going to be our secret: is in order to claim, if someone actually comes to us, is like, hey, my car got sunk in quicksand. Can I have the money for a new car? Or in the very, very fine print, you have to measure the speed of the sand. No one's going to think to do that. They're not going to read the fine print. Boom. We never have to pay out.
But
Wow.
can't they revisit the sand and just measure it if they find
Nope.
out that loophole?
Has to be within 30 minutes of car sinkage.
Okay, but what? Okay, I'm not gonna question it. I'll let you have it.
Exactly.
I'm
Because
looking up
it's a
the Wikipedia
brilliant
page
idea.
for Quicksand. Okay, apparently there is a movie on Netflix. No, a TV show on Netflix called Quicksand from 2019. It is rated MA.
Sure.
What's the score
I mean,
of it though?
Let's
the
see.
actual
Let me
rating?
open in a new tab.
I thought you were asking what the score of it is, as in like the music. Of it.
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah.
The only
no, I'm sure
important
it's got
element.
fantastic music.
All right.
Quicksand the musical.
IMDb.
I kind of want that to be the title of this episode.
7.5 out of 10. That's pretty good.
Dang.
What kind of music credits it's got? I think there was John Legend, and then who else was in? Rihanna does a number at
Rihanna?
one point.
I gotta watch that.
Mm-hmm.
Does it talk about music on the IMDb page?
Yeah, it gives.
I
Stuff, I'm
can't
pretty
find
sure.
it.
It might not because
Well,
it's a
you're not
show.
looking
They
hard
probably do less support for shows since it is a movie database.
Yeah. That it probably won't even say that that Oprah stars in it.
Yeah.
She's actually like the
Gosh.
main character.
It has.
They also would mention that-
all these names.
Of course, everyone knows it's hosted by Will Smith. Will Smith
I was gonna
hosts the
say,
podcast.
and he does
Will
a
Smith
great job of
Enterprises.
expressing the Shopnussbugen that happens within the show.
Right. Well, the like poster for the movie is man and a
Smith.
woman
Keep swapping
behind
between TV
broken
show and
glass,
movie.
and then like the first thumbnail of like the trailer, there's like blood running down this girl's face. So seems intense. But anyways, I'm just gonna pull up the Wikipedia article.
So
for
are you
Quicksand.
guys
I'm gonna
ready
be
to
doing
start?
reading.
Are you ready to start this company with me?
Um.
I'm looking for
Yeah,
$1 million investment for
Okay. Well,
2% equity in my company.
you should see about a
Okay,
bank loan.
speaking
They'd
of
probably
what-
give it to you. Say, dude, all we need is 500,000 people to buy a one-time purchase of Quicksand Insurance. And,
Boom.
yeah.
I bet there's not even quicksand on Earth. Like that's a question. Will we insure people on Mars? I bet Mars is just like entirely quicksand.
All right. It's a colloid consisting of fine granular material and water. It forms in saturated loose sand when the sand is suddenly agitated. When water in the sand cannot escape, it creates a liquefied soil that loses strength and cannot support weight. Interesting. Oh,
I mean,
here's
there are
here's a sign
theories
in
about
one of the
what quicksand
pictures.
is, but no one
Yeah.
actually knows.
Yeah, this is all like theory crafting. Like, what would quicksand be? But here's a sign in a picture from England, and it says "deep water and quicksand, no swimming."
See, I bet it's like they couldn't afford a private property sign, or like they couldn't legally put one up, so they just put that up instead. Quicksand's not real.
So let's see. I'm just gonna gloss over the pictures. So England, River Thames, Utah, and Western Australia. Oh, there's
don't-
also another page called dry quicksand.
We could have exclusion zones, like if it sinks in quicksand in these areas, you are ineligible to claim compensation.
We didn't know where they appeared. We just looked at the pictures on Wikipedia. Kind of rolled with it. I feel like I had something to say. Oh yeah, other insurance story. So like, have you guys heard of like the thing people do sometimes, where like if they're evicted or their house is repossessed or something, they'll just like destroy everything?
So they can then claim like renter's insurance, maybe?
No, not even that. It's just like they're mad and
Oh.
want to screw over the landlord or the bank or whoever and make it more of a pain or something. What I don't know why they do it, but they do it. So real story, like someone I know was telling me about this because they like have a rental property and they had someone squatting in there after like not having a lease there for a while, but it was like someone they had worked with before. And they ended up like sending the police order to evict them, 'cause, like they're squatting, and they like so they went around, they like destroyed everything, spray painted the walls, broke a bunch of stuff, really expensive. But they have insurance, so they're like, and they have like good insurance, so they figured they were fine. But as it turns out, it is not covered by standard insurance. You have to specifically get insurance for someone like destroying everything. And so the people I know just got screwed out of like thousands of dollars of damage.
Oh my goodness, that's so. Man, I wonder. So like those people, instead of destroying it themselves, what if they like rented it out to like a music video or something, right? Or just some videographer or someone that needed to destroy something, and then they make money off it. This is big brain time.
Yeah, you're full of business ideas today, Brent.
I'm ready to make some money. What are we doing this podcast for? We don't make any money off this podcast.
What are you talking about? We've made what is it, like $18?
Don't reveal the numbers. I'm gonna bleep that.
Yeah, no money. Tell your friends.
$18 million. Is that what you said, Daniel?
Can you imagine? We say $18 million on the podcast, and the IRS knocks on the door. It's like, hey, taxes.
Okay,
but hold on a minute. I only made $6 million.
It's like a comedy podcast, or semi-comedy podcast. Why would we be worried about the IRS coming knock on our door about a fact that they think we said?
Also, I think.
Well, that's they don't even check to see if it's true. Like, they don't check actual bank accounts or anything. They're just like, they said it on the podcast, must be true.
Okay, 2 points to make here. One, I think we talked about this last episode, but I never know how to describe this podcast to people if they ask like what it's about.
We did talk about that.
I can't remember if we talked about that in episode or like when we were getting ready for the episode. We talked about it.
Everyone's leaving because they're bored because we're talking about things we've already talked about.
Yeah. Second point, 2% of our listeners listen on a web browser. That's wild.
And
Okay,
I that's what I've expected. I don't listen to podcasts on web browser.
My next one's
I
pretty
would do
short.
it at work.
Then my next
for it.
Qualgorithm part is short, and it will be our last one. But quality variation. Have you ever like had a drink that you got from like a fountain, or like a food that you got from like a chain that like only this one location is good and like every other one is terrible, or vice versa? Like it's good most places, but like this one location will always mess it up.
I was totally ready to talk Six Sigma for you for quality control, because I'm looking into classes for possibly taking quality control next semester.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Continue.
No, that was just
So
it.
you're talking like chain restaurants.
Sure. Yeah, that's a great example. It's chain restaurants, gas stations, like whatever you get a food or snack from. It would have to be like fountain or
like
made there.
Certain restaurants. Like, we used to like drive to see some of our family most holidays. It was like a 4-hour drive, and we knew there was like one McDonald's an hour away that always had better French fries than any other McDonald's we'd been to.
Yes,
So we would like hold out to get the French fries at that McDonald's instead of eating before.
Exactly.
That's what I was gonna say. Is that like I've never noticed places being exceptionally bad, but I've noticed some places being exceptionally good.
So
Okay, tangent. Well, say what you're gonna say. Let's see.
I was
But
just gonna
there's a
say-
Wendy's really close to me that is absolutely horrendous.
disappointment. I just like I've been like my drink of choice lately has been Coca-Cola, and I typically get it from the fountain because it's just cheaper and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just the quality is like, because typically like convenience wise, Quick Trip is always like a gas station that's really accessible for me. And it's just like every time it's not good quality, so I stopped getting it there, and then it's just like other gas stations did it good,
Sponsor from QT now.
and then it's just terrible. And then like the only places that tends to be good is like Sonic, which I rarely go to. It's only if my girlfriend really wants to go, and then like McDonald's if I go on a rare occasion like that. they've got a good quality, a consistent quality. But like everywhere else, it's just, I think Coca-Cola in general is typically just the least inconsistent, or yeah, the least consistent drink ever. And
I think soft drinks is the one I noticed the most variance in. Because like sometimes you go to a place and you're like, okay, so a lot of times when I notice it, it's because the sodas are like watered down, or it's because like a lemonade is way too grainy.
yeah.
I mean, which makes sense because like a syrup machine is like out of anything at any establishment that would, I imagine that could get out of like, I don't, tuned. I don't know if that's the proper word if you tune a soda machine, but I imagine it could become untuned pretty easily. All of these seem way too fancy of words for
The fact that
machine.
I've done it before multiple times.
And you use the word calibrate?
Yeah, that's calibration.
Interesting. But yeah, it seems like that would be the easiest thing to, like, with a hot dog, it's like, it's entirely dependent on the person working or something, how long they cook it. Whereas the soda machine, it's not dependent on the person or the worker.
That is the other thing I've noticed is, like, especially somewhere where you can, like, see the kitchen. Like, at a Waffle House, and, like, the Waffle House nearby me, I mean, obviously, like, the crew, like, shuffles in and out over time, but, like, sometimes you, like, know when you see it in the window, you're like, all right, this is going to be good. This is going to be bad. Especially with, like, the cooks. I'm like, okay, this guy's cooking, so I know, like, I'm totally blanking on what I normally order. One of the hash brown bowls, I'm like, okay, the hash brown bowl is going to be fire. But other times I'm like, okay, I don't really know what to think here. Just because it's very different.
I never know what to think when going inside a Waffle House.
That's the beauty. That's the beauty of it. It's like pretty consistently like matches up with like the other breakfast chains, and then like you just don't know what you're going to get service-wise. It's almost always an experience, though.
Mm-hmm. And with that, I think we're out of time for the Qualgorithm.
And
Sad.
I am now realizing I have the conclusion. Holy, wow. I'm so unprepared for this. That's okay. You can just wing conclusions, I think. Like, comment, subscribe, follow, or don't if you don't want to do those things. But
It'd be very sad.
We'll cry.
We appreciate it if
do you want to make us cry? You're going to make us cry. Just hit like. Just do it. Do it. Do it.
Do it. No
Do it
pressure. We don't want to pressure you, but do it. You have to do it.
Come on, hit subscribe.
Just do it. Like you're
Hit
literally
donate.
at your computer or your phone right now. Just do it.
You're literally looking at it.
Come on.
Just hit donate. $100. Connect your bank account now. Send us crypto.
100
We want
comments,
Dogecoin.
and I leak Brent's phone number, and you could all text him about how much you enjoy the podcast.
Honestly, I don't think anyone would text me, so I wouldn't even super mind. My phone number is 911. I don't think I can make that joke. Never mind.
He had a cough. What he meant to say is his phone number is unknown.
1-800.
Honestly,
He was just stuttering.
I was-
He's at 9. Let's see. Yeah, it just kind of
there were
happened.
audio issues.
Yeah.
Just kidding. We're not big enough to ever have. Scandal.
Okay, so final thoughts.
What if we try to get big via a scandal?
What?
No.
Get big via scandal?
Via a scandal. So like we
Hey.
say something scandalous, and that's how we get big.
No such thing as bad press, as they say.
Exactly. So what gender, religion, or race can we insult so bad? that?
Maybe
Can
not.
you believe
I'd prefer
that
to, I'd prefer to
low-tier
go by
podcast?
insurance scandal.
Yeah, we should. That's not a bad idea. I applied for a movie watching final story. This is basically my final thoughts too. I applied for a movie watching competition, which like for those I watch a ton of movies. I watch basically a movie a night. I recently watched all movies on IMDb Top 250 within like 5 months or something. And then I applied for this movie competition that they were going to pay you to watch like 13 scary movies. And I didn't get it. And I'm so upset. And I wish I had more of a podcast following because I could have done it. But with that, thanks everyone for listening. Sorry you missed the past 2 weeks. We won't do that again until
Sometime.
we do it again.
My final thoughts are brought to you by my girlfriend is that what is a podcast without a hypothetical? We had no hypothetical, so we have failed.
In defense, one of my Qualgorithms was a hypothetical.
Okay, yes, we did have many. We did have many ones,
And
honestly.
we did come up with a hypothetical while brainstorming ad break. So
but we did
I don't
not
even remember what it was.
Well, that's not relevant because that's not recorded.
Full-fledged.
Shout out to mom.
Shout out
Yep.
to girlfriend.
Shout out to
Unnamed
all the other
female.
listeners.
Only female listeners. We only care if you're female.
That is
No,
sexist.
just kidding. I'm just kidding. It just seems
Oh,
like
you're fired.
I shout
You're-
out my sister.
you're
my
fired.
mother, and shout out Will Smith.
Shout out to
Okay,
that's
we
better.
evened it out.
Chad and Alex.
Shout out to.
I think they still regularly listen.
Shout out to Jarrett.
Shout out. I guess I'll say her name, Kristen.
Ooh, doxed.
All right, end it.
It's all over. Have a bombastic week, everybody.